Hi friends, Poe.Darcy here. I'm a writer, but I'm also a reader with a goal to double my age in books read throughout the year. I'm turning 26 this year, so the goal this year is 52, and I've already read 13. Today we're talking about my 5 favorite reads of the year so far and why they're my favorite. The first book is called Back Pocket God, Religion and Spirituality in the Lives of Emerging Adults by Melinda, Lundquist, Denton, and Richard Flory. This book is the capstone of a 10-year-long study of the role and relevance of religion in the lives of 13 to 18-year-olds at the beginning of the study, and then ending with them being 23 to 28. I thought that this was a really interesting perspective and take on just religion and seeing how its relevance and importance in somebody's life can change over time based on different circumstances. The study does a really good job of comparing and contrasting different circumstances and not necessarily speculating, but definitely hypothesizing how the different circumstances could lead to a decrease or increase in the relevance in religion in somebody's life, but also how the role of religion from an early age could have led to the circumstances later in life. So I thought that it was a really well-rounded perspective and researched really well. The one gap that I feel like I saw was that they focused mostly on Judeo-Christian religions, at least from what I could tell based upon the research and the data. And I think that in order to get a view of religion as a whole and how it plays a part in modern day emerging adults' lives, including all religions, or at least having more breadth of the religions that were included in the study, would have been beneficial. All in all, I really enjoyed the study. I feel like I learned a lot from it, especially as someone who's currently editing a manuscript that deals with teenagers from different backgrounds dealing with religion in their own way. I feel like it gave me a well-informed perspective on that. If you watch my shorts, you already know about this next one, but Ophelia Brown and the Unseen by Julia Witmer is another one of my favorites from this year. It's a middle grade fantasy novel that follows 10-year-old Ophelia Brown, who has to go into the unseen realm and deal with creatures and characters that she's never seen the likes of, along with her friends as they try to recover her family. I thought that the tension was done really well. The world building is great. It kind of gives vibes of like Narnia and Bridge to Terabithia, you know, where the world that you're in is not all that it seems. And the dynamics between the mythical creatures were really well thought out, and so that was an entertaining read as well. And that's coming from somebody who's 25 reading a book that's made for 9 to 14-year-olds. One thing that I did kind of want more of is more showing and less telling when it comes to the background of the relationships between some of the characters, but I will say that I read YA a lot more than I read middle grade, so that could just be a personal preference based on experience in a different genre. All in all, I think that Julia did a really great job. The second book is actually coming out later this year, and I'm very excited to see the launch of that one. It's called Ophelia Brown and the Mythical Menagerie. First hard copy of the video, we've got Wrecked by Louisa Reed. Louisa Reed is a new author find for me, but I'm really enjoying her work, especially this one. Basically, this is a story about a court case following a fatal car accident that's told in verse form. I thought that the verse was used really well with some of the visual aspects and rhyming and pacing. It really added like tension where there needed to be tension and emotional depth where there needed to be emotional depth, kind of like felt what the character was feeling along with the character. That really like gripped me and pulled me into the story. Something else I really liked about this book is that it takes like a magnifying lens to things that a lot of people don't want to talk about, one of which being DV from the male perspective. I think that that's something that doesn't really get talked about very much. Don't like that it happens, but I like that we're talking about it, and I think that this book shows really well how those kinds of relationships can happen, how they can develop, and why for some people it's not as simple as just getting out and leaving. But I think it also kind of shows the consequences of it for everybody involved, which I really appreciated personally. One thing about this book that I did notice is that even with the verse, the narrative just kind of seems to drag on a little bit, but not to the point of boredom. Like, I didn't want the book to end. I just noticed that a lot of things are handled more slowly and longer than I would have expected. But again, not to the point that it was boring or that I didn't enjoy it. This was a really solid read for me, and I read the whole thing in less than 24 hours because the verse just moves really quickly. This was a reread, but Hunger Games honestly has become one of my favorite reads since I started my reading goal this year. If you've seen some of my previous videos, you know I am hosting a reread in preparation for the March 18th release of Sunrise on the Reaping, which is sneaking up on us for sure. The Discord is still open. You can find the link in the description of this video or in my profile. At this point, I don't really expect anybody to be able to finish all 3 books if you haven't started yet, but I'd still love to have a conversation with anybody about Hunger Games and what like predictions for Sunrise on the Reaping are. I am actually in the process of doing a movie recap as well, so if anybody is interested in doing that and would like to talk about it as well, head on over there. I haven't read this book since I was like a preteen, I think. So this was the first time getting back into it, and I thought the pacing was great. And one of the things I loved about the character is that she wasn't like a diehard rebel. It wasn't like this stoic character that you expect to see in a book like this that's like willing to rise above the oppression and the animosity to fight for a better world for her and her family. She really just wanted to save her sister. That's like why everything started, and she just made the best of the situation that she was in. I just really appreciated that, and I thought that it added a lot of depth to the character and the story, and I thought it was far more realistic, again, than that kind of like hero archetype. One thing that I did notice that kind of stopped me from giving this book a full 5 stars is that some of the plot devices just seem kind of convenient. But that is a thing that happens, I guess, especially in a post-apocalyptic world like that where they have technology that we couldn't even dream of. But that was something that did pull me out of the story occasionally. But again, not to the point that I didn't enjoy it. I gave it like 4.75 stars. Okay, so Louisa Reed is making it onto this list twice. Oh, this book. This is my favorite that I have read so far this year. This is the one 5-star read that I have on this list. And guys, this book wrecked me. Like, I honestly, I have no constructive criticism for this book. I thought everything was very well done, and the emotion. Okay, so perhaps I should explain what the book's about. A high school student in England, so that, you know, leads to some cultural differences. She gives birth at school after a cryptic pregnancy, and she kind of has to deal with the fallout of that with a very, like, less than ideal, I think is a generous term, support system. Like I said, just the emotional depth and reality that this book portrays for the main character, her name is Ruby, in the situation. She's basically in a situation where it's like everyone and their mother thinks that they know what is best for her and the baby. That kind of puts her in a position where there are these like expectations of her. She's dealing with all this stuff, like, I mean, shock trauma, you know, from having a baby that she didn't even know she had, postpartum depression, and she feels all alone in the world. I don't want to ruin too much, but it is such a good book, and I have never wanted so badly to just like go into the pages of a book and yell at all of the characters. I still think about it a lot. It hit home for me for a lot of personal things that like have affected me and my family. Yes, so it is not for the faint of heart. There are definitely some trigger warnings I would recommend looking into. It's a very good book. So if you want to maybe gain a better understanding for people who are in this situation, who maybe were teen moms or single moms, like unexpected pregnancy, that sort of thing, I think that this is definitely a good read, but just like steel yourself, because again, not for the faint of heart, but definitely one of my favorite reads. I don't think I'll ever forget it. It's been a great reading year so far, and I'm really excited for a lot of the books that I have ahead, including Sunrise on the Reaping. Tell me in the comments, what are you guys reading? And are you as excited for Sunrise on the Reaping, the new Hunger Games book, if I haven't made that clear, as I am? If you'd like a reading buddy, I am going to be hosting live streams here on March 18th and 19th so that everybody can kind of read the book together. There's going to be some kind of chat format. I haven't really decided on that yet. If you'd like book recommendations monthly, you can subscribe to my newsletter on the journey with Poe.Darcy. The link will be in the description and on my profile. There you'll get updates on my writing journey, like I said, book recommendations, anecdotes from my personal life, and when you sign up, you'll get a free download of Poe.Darcy's Inspiration Starter Pack, which is just this little cheat sheet with my favorite authors, books, and writing songs. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the journey, friends, and happy reading.